And this is Tom Fitton of Judicial Watch. And Tom, listen, you have been, from the moment that FBI raid at Mar-a-Lago occurred, you have been all over the outrageous behavior of the Biden Justice Department and Christopher Wray's FBI. So get us up to speed here. What happened yesterday to compel Judge Cannon to indefinitely postpone this criminal proceeding?
Well, it wasn't much of a surprise in the sense that this was a complicated, I wouldn't even say that complicated, but complicated case that required more time for her to adjudicate. She had a lot of work to do. There's a lot of pre-trial motions that related to the handling of classified information, evidence and such. So it's no surprise that a May 20th or 24th date wasn't going to work. That would have been in a week and a half. So now, until those various issues are resolved, she can't set a trial date. She's not even going to try. There's nothing unusual about a case of this nature, or frankly, a less complicated case, taking as long, if not longer, before it sees the light of a courtroom trial.
When I keep hearing from cable news anchors who are just dying to see the perp walk where Donald Trump is in the black and white horizontal stripes with a little, like the Monopoly man with a little ball attached to his ankle, like that's what they're envisioning. They keep saying these are delay tactics. Is that what's going on here, or is it actual standard judicial and due process happening?
That's right. The left doesn't want Trump to have any due process rights or any constitutional rights, and they want snap trials so they can get their pound of flesh and try to put him in jail or convict him before the election. But that's not the way our justice system is supposed to work. And by the left, I mean Joe Biden and Jack Smith, his minion there in Florida in this case. And so at least one federal judge wasn't going to play the game. Judge Chutkan was willing to play the game to a certain extent up here in D.C. and put him through a snap trial, but the courts intervened above her, including the Supreme Court of the United States. So, the left keeps on losing on their abuses, but in many ways winning on the process, which, of course, is the punishment, as we're seeing up in New York.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the judges. Judge Eileen Cannon, she seems to be a real bulwark against some of the abuse coming at President Trump. But Jack Smith wants her to recuse herself, and we see that demand from other sort of members of the media and powerful forces out there. What is her status? Is she holding strong? Does she feel the pressure of recusal? She doesn't seem to be showing that at all, especially with this latest ruling. Just trying to get an update on her from you.
Oh, it's a nutty idea that she would have to recuse herself because of scheduling disputes with the prosecution. It's just plain nutty. She's not doing anything extraordinary. She's demonstrated no bias in a way to warrant recusal. She doesn't meet the standards for recusal by any stretch of the imagination. And the fact that there's anyone out there who considers themselves a serious commentator, or in the case of Jack Smith, threatening the judge with recusal and other moves in the appellate court. I mean, to me, this is just power politics. It has nothing to do with the rule of law.
Tom Fitton is our guest from Judicial Watch. And Tom, you were a valuable voice sort of dissecting the impeachment process against Donald Trump, the first impeachment over the phone call to Ukrainian President Zelensky and the alleged withholding of aid to Ukraine. I'd love for you to reflect on that experience and seeing how that process transpired in the House, run by Nancy Pelosi, with this latest news that Joe Biden and the Biden administration has secretly ended or paused military aid to Israel. This is aid that was literally just voted on weeks ago, and they didn't disclose this pause of precision bombs that are due to go to Israel. They didn't disclose that to Congress. Is it fair to draw some comparisons here?
It is. Remember when you were in school, when you were younger, you were given essay assignments? Compare and contrast.
Yeah.
So all your listeners should compare and contrast President Trump's decision to ask questions about why we were sending aid to Ukraine in light of Ukraine's intervention in our elections and corruption there concerning Joe Biden, with Joe Biden's decision to delay armaments to Israel in the middle of a war that everyone agrees that they seemingly should win.
Yeah.
In response to communist demonstrations here at home and the prospects he might lose some votes.
I mean,
Compare and contrast the reaction from what I call the Borg here in Washington, D.C.
Well, I don't know if this is going to be on the test or not, Professor Fitton, but my quick answer to that was what Trump was doing, you can argue, was definitely in the best interest of the American people, because we shouldn't be sending money to a corrupt nation, especially a nation that proactively intervened in a president or attempted to intervene in a presidential election. Meanwhile, what Biden's doing undermines our ally, goes against the best interests of the American people, and certainly since 80% of the American people support the Iranian effort, flies in the face of what the popular sentiment is in this country. I feel like there is a bit of a distinction.
Yes, and under the Trump rules, therefore, Biden must be impeached.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the precedent that they set. I mean, one could argue that the commander-in-chief should have a certain discretion over America's foreign policy, but they threw that out the window when they impeached Trump over this, didn't they?
Yeah, very different rules for Trump. He deserves no due process. He can't actually act as president when he's president, but then Joe Biden comes in and he's treated with kid gloves on these very issues.
Tom, also there's been misdeeds, I think, from Christopher Wray's FBI back to the classified document case. We've got Julie Kelly coming up in an hour. She's been doing some great reporting on this. But it was revealed in Jack Smith's own legal filings that famous picture of the classified documents, alleged classified documents that Donald Trump had in his possession at Mar-a-Lago, they were strewn across the floor. The FBI strewn them across the floor. But not only that, those giant red letter cover letters that said classified, top secret, it was the FBI that put those red documents on there on the picture. Those weren't attached to the documents that Donald Trump had. So that entire photo that was leaked to the media was staged 100% by Christopher Wray's FBI.
Exactly. And arguably as worse, if not worse, is the admission that they lost track of where the classified records were while they were doing that staging.
Yeah.
Where you find them and where they are is important to the case, and they lost track. And they were messing with, because they were so interested in PR and messing and moving the documents around, they now don't know where they found allegedly certain classified information, because I don't really think any of it's really classified because he had it, so therefore it was unclassified.
Right, yeah.
But if they were so concerned, they couldn't bother to be tracking and lost track of where they were in the boxes because they were so desperate.
That's right.
to make Trump look foolish. And on top of that, it's evidence to me of evidence tampering, and as the Trump's team described yesterday, spoliation. They spoiled the evidence. They corrupted the evidence.
Yeah. Tom, if we were playing compare and contrast some more, by the way, we could compare and contrast how the Justice Department handled Biden's misuse of classified documents too, but sadly we're out of time. Always good to talk to you, my friend. Thank you for fighting the fight there with judicialwatch.org. Thanks, sir.
You're welcome. Thank you.